A standing room only crowd of better than 30,000 on hand at Marshall University Stadium. We're pleased to be joined down on the sidelines today by Jim Gray. Jim?
Sean, there's some significant support by some very accomplished football people for these two teams. First, for Youngstown State, Eddie DeBartolo Jr., the owner of the San Francisco 49ers, is a resident of Youngstown, Ohio. Well, he came by practice and gave a pep talk, and then this morning he also sent a telegram of his support. Now, for Marshall, head coach Jim Donnan and Bill Parcells coached together back in 1972 on the Florida State staff. Well, Parcells called yesterday with some advice and some strategy. The two have exchanged phone calls in each of one another's big games as the years have gone on. Now, as for the field, it rained here this morning. The field is wet, but the footing will be fine. Sean?
As Jim mentioned, it has rained off and on, and there is a decent chance of more rain this afternoon. 42 degrees, the temperature at kickoff. Marshall won the toss and deferred its decision to the second half, so Youngstown State will receive, and David Merrick will kick off. Darnell Clark is back to receive it. He's a senior from Canton, Ohio. Round 3 for Youngstown State and Marshall about to begin with the national title on the line. Merrick is a left footer. He did not appear in the championship game last year due to a disciplinary suspension. His brother Willie kicked the game-winning field goal. And Merrick sends the opening kickoff out of bounds, so excellent field position for Youngstown State to begin the game at the 35-yard line. The officials provided by the Gateway Conference. Steve Newman is the referee. And he's just making sure that Youngstown State wants it at the 35, and they will take it there.
We have illegal procedure. Kick out of bounds on the kicking team. The ball will be put in play at the 35-yard line, 1st and 10.
The question mark coming into the season for the Penguins, the quarterback, Mark Brungard, the sophomore from New Middletown, Ohio. He's responded to the challenge, and the team is here again in the championship game. It is a big offensive line led by Drew Gerber, a first-team AP All-American. And as Dan Jiggets mentioned, 2 1,000-yard rushers in the backfield. Don Zwissler is the leading receiver. Mark Brungard, 6'1", 202 pounds. As you might expect on the first play of Cameron Smith. First down out near midfield. A gain of 14. Roger Johnson, the free safety, made the tackle for Marshall. The weakness of the Marshall defense is in the middle of the front four. They're concerned about Billy Lyon and Byron Turner. Rodney Garrett is outstanding. The strength of the defense, the linebacker core, William King was the Southern Conference Defensive Player of the Year.
Just made All-American.
And in the secondary, Reynolds and Cunningham are redshirt freshman corners, but Jim Donnan says the biggest improvement this year on defense for Marshall has been pass defense. Darnell Clark. He's going to go all the way for a touchdown. "51 yards on the second play from scrimmage. The Youngstown State Penguins are on the board.
Chris blocking up front with the offensive line. Watch the gaps that they open up here. Look on that right side of your screen. See that huge hole? That's the kind of running that Darnell Clark likes. When you can get downfield, you see it, and then you can break it back. That's exactly what he did. Broke it back against the grain and took off for a touchdown. You've got to jump on Youngstown early if you're the defense because you want to put them in long situations. So far, Marshall has not done that.
The extra point knocked through by Jeff Wilkins. And just 33 seconds into the game, Youngstown has a 7-0 lead.
Safety is something we all think about. Buick has considered the subject from many angles. So for frontal impacts, Buick Regal offers a driver's side airbag. And for side impacts, Regal meets 1997 government safety standards right now. 3 years in advance. Why has Buick put so much into Regal? Because you put so much into Regal. Regal from Buick, the new symbol for quality in America.
When you were 21, yeah, we drank a toast to it.
Yeah.
We did do that. When you were 30, I can't read this. You could boast of it. Now you're 40. Look at there. See? So make the most of it.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that clever?
Today, Michael White is having a lunch meeting in Indonesia without even leaving town. Mary Kaplan is keeping things moving at her office, even though she's going nowhere fast. With everything from local to long distance to cellular, it's easy to see why Sprint is the choice of millions who need to be there now.
Be there now. Life won't wait. Be there now.
What's a liberated woman like her doing with a guy like him? Mr. and Mrs. Arafat at home Sunday to Leslie Stahl on 60 Minutes.
CBS Sports presentation of the NCAA Championships is sponsored by Buick and your local Buick dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality. John Hancock, official life insurance sponsor of the 1994-1996 U.S. Olympic teams. And by Sprint, the official telecommunications provider for the NCAA.
Sean, we mentioned earlier how important it was to get the blocking up front to pick up the linebackers. Watch Drew Gerber here chip off the block here, and Coco's here chip out his man, and all of a sudden Darnell Clark has plenty of room to run. The key block, though, Gerber 62 right there on the linebacker. Shannon King takes him out of the picture, and Clark is gone. A 51-yard touchdown run.
2 plays, 65 yards on the scoring drive. It took just 33 seconds. And the Penguins of Youngstown State have a 7-0 lead. And Jeff Wilkins will kick off. This year he's doubling as both punter and place kicker. Back to receive it is Tim Martin, who had a huge kickoff return in the last minute of their second-round win over Delaware to set up the game-winning field goal in the final second. Wilkins drives it over the head of Eric Thomas and through the end zone. And Marshall will get the ball for the first time today at its own 20-yard line. Led by junior quarterback Todd Donnan. He is the son of head coach Jim Donnan and his wife Mary. The offensive line anchored by Chris Deaton, who's making his 56th consecutive start at Marshall. Parker and Pedro, the running backs behind Donnan. Todd Donnan, 6 feet, 185 pounds. Out of the shotgun on the first play and throws it out to the near side to Ricky Carter. He stopped after a gain of 2 to the 22. Reggie Lee made the tackle for the Penguins. It's a 3-4 defense for Youngstown State. David Birch, the defensive end, is the best of the defensive linemen. He's a Syracuse, New York native. Leon Jones is the leading tackler for Youngstown State. Reggie Lee is second in tackles for the Penguins. And it's a veteran secondary of Brown, Weaver, Mason, and Smith. Jim Tressel in his 8th season as head coach at Youngstown State. He's been in the 1AA playoff 6 of the last 7 years. Donnan looking to throw again. And now he runs for a gain of 1, tackled by David Birch, number 98.
One thing about both of these passing attacks is both quarterbacks have the ability to get out and scramble a little bit if they can't find anything downfield. Interesting thing about Marshall offensively is how well balanced, we mentioned in the open, how well balanced the offense is for Marshall. 178 yards either passing or running the football during the course of the regular season.
Coaches say they strive for balance on offense, and Marshall was perfectly balanced this year coming into this game. 178 yards per game, both rushing and passing. Looked like a quarterback draw, and Youngstown wasn't fooled by it. Donnan dropped back at the 20-yard line by Andre Jethro, a true freshman out of Warren, Ohio.
He's a nose guard, and he just played it like you should. If you're a nose guard, you want to spy on that quarterback. And watch Todd Donnan here. He's just going to kind of casually drop back, and the nose tackle's all over that Jethro. That's a good name for a nose tackle, you know?
Andre Jethro. Defensive coordinator John Haycock says he's as talented as any middle guard that they've had in the Tressel era. Trouble on the punt, and dropped back at the 5-yard line was Travis Colquitt. They had a similar problem last week in the semifinals against Troy State. There is a penalty flag on the play. It's a holding call against Marshall. Undoubtedly, that'll be turned down, and Youngstown State will get the ball at the 6-yard line.
And it appeared that the holding call came from the right side of the formation, the punt formation. Colquitt didn't have a chance. Alfred Hill, number 58. Looks like the guy that got it. Here's Colquitt again, and you can tell right now he doesn't have a chance. He sees right away. He tries to get out. Hill's all over him, number 58.
Youngstown State has blocked 6 punts this year. This time they tackled the punter Colquitt. And already leading 7-0, the Penguins have it first and goal at the 6. We played only 2.5 minutes here in Huntington, West Virginia. Youngstown State had plenty of success in the first half this year, but not in the championship games against Marshall the last 2 years. It's been the Herd that has taken a big lead the last 2 years. It's 13-0 now as Tamron Smith punches it in from 6 yards out.
Speaking with Mark Asher, the run game coordinator for Youngstown State before the ball game, so this weather's perfect for his road graders, his 300-pounders. You know, they don't get a whole lot of sweat going and all the rest of that. They can just line up the whole ball game and mash you, and that's exactly what they're doing right now to the Marshall front.
They've only run 3 plays from scrimmage. They have 13 points on the board. Wilkins makes it 14.
Another look at that touchdown run. Watch the big guys up front. Remove the line of scrimmage and replace it with a running back. He takes off into the end zone. They just erased it.
53rd career touchdown for Smith. That's a Youngstown State record. Will have to come from behind if the Herd is to win the national championship.
The good news for them, they have a pretty strong passing game, so you can get back in a hurry.
Jim Tressel, the 40-year-old head coach, has Jeff Wilkins on the field to kick off. Youngstown State leads 14-0. And again, it's Tim Martin back deep. Wilkins, a senior from Austintown, Ohio, in the Youngstown area. Martin from the 6. And he's taken down at the 24-yard line. Tom Dillingham made the tackle on special teams with Chris Inglis.
Let's go back to that touchdown, Sean. I want to show you something here. We're watching the block of Ray Miller, number 78, the off guard. He's going to pull over. This is what they call zone blocking, folks. When everybody pulls to an area, blocks the guy in that area. But watch 78 Miller. That's the key block that really springs his running back. Right there, he nails his man, and all of a sudden you find your running back is in the end zone. Beautiful.
Tamron Smith gave the Penguins a 14-0 lead. Parker tripped up. He gained 1. Leon Jones, the sophomore from Akron, made the tackle for Youngstown State. He comes in as the leading tackler for the Penguins with 167 tackles in the 14 games.
And he's an inside linebacker. So what that means is that the linebackers are really shifting over and getting in front of the running attack of the Thundering Herd.
He played every play last week against Idaho. Jim Tressel said after the game he played 9